Right, hello to everybody. Just joining the stream. Probably won't even do a full hour tonight because it's too warm and I don't want to have the fans on because that'll be too loud on the microphone. So I'm just going to sort of do it like this. So wait for a few more people to get in and then we'll start doing an actual stream. I can't remember if I got slow mode on. Yeah, it's on 30 seconds. I'll keep it on 30 seconds because otherwise it goes a bit too fast. The chat. Yeah, I obviously live in the UK. If you've watched any of my videos, you'd know that. Hello, I'm hoping by doing one at 7 PM UK time it'll be a bit better for some of the people on. Alright Mike, I'm not going to be doing a massively long stream tonight anyway. Because it's just too hot, so I have to turn all the fans off so it's actually not too loud blowing into the mic. So cool, yeah, I'm probably gonna do 45 minutes at most if I last that long. Yeah, hopefully we've got, how many people are in? Does it show me on the interface? 27 watching now. Right, good. Without seeing it, I have no idea which version of a GP5 whatever you've got. You can own weapons in the UK, just not really firearms. No idea, because I have no idea what you own already and don't have and do have and everything else. Oh no, I can't share it on this stream because there's no video. You can own pretty much whatever knife you want, you just can't carry them around in public. Are you in the US? Because they mostly use the M50 now in the US, the Avon M50. Cool. I did think I saw a notification that you'd done that earlier, but I hadn't actually clicked on it yet. Because I haven't watched too much today. I only have one Mora knife, and I've got a couple of open hours, but I generally say open hours personally. I think open hours come a bit sharper, but Mora knives are very good. Neither of them are a bad choice. Depends really what you want. Open hour obviously or folding pocket knives, and Mora knives are fixed tang. Yeah, you can own firearms like shotguns and everything, but I would never really bother because I've gone through all the reasons before. No, you can't be a mod. The only person who's a mod at the moment is Weapon Collector because I've known him for years on here. Well, up to you if you buy a Lee Enfield, isn't it? Nothing. If there's nothing stopping you and you want to get one, get one. Oh, I've got a cup of tea, yeah. I've got a very big cup of tea and it's Yorkshire tea. Apparently PG Tips still sells more than Yorkshire tea, but I have no idea why, because PG Tips is crap. But at the moment it's a bit too hot to actually drink still. Unless I want to scold myself. No, in Scotland you need to have an air rifle licence now, but not in England or Wales. I like Swiss Alpenflage. Whether or not it's good completely depends on your area, depending on you know, how many ready sort of browns are in it. Because if you're in an area that's really green, Alpenflage is going to stick out. Cool. Yeah, I hope you enjoy collecting. You can't really open a filter incorrectly as long as it's opened properly. It's only incorrectly open if you've only partially taken one of the tabs off of it. Twinings is probably the best tea in terms of quality. I quite like the clipper ones as well, with the tea bags that aren't coloured white, because they're like actually a natural colour. But Yorkshire tea is the one I like the most out of the sort of mass-produced tea. Completely depends on a firearm. Do you have an actual use for it? If you have an actual use for a firearm, it's quite easy to get one. If you're like me and you know, don't have any real use for it, there's no point in getting a firearm. Sometimes I get Tetley green tea, because Tetley green tea tends to be very cheap, but overall I don't like Tetley normal tea. No, I've never seen that Italian stuff. Is that a camouflage pattern? As in, you almost need it for a job, so are you a farmer where you need to shoot animals on your farm that are sort of like foxes as well? I know you can't technically shoot foxes. But you know, it's like, do you own it for a pest control reason? Something like that. Or if you're an actual member of a shooting club, like that would be a good reason, but like a regular person can't just say, I want a gun, give me a gun. It totally depends on which Avon mask. I like the Avon S10 and FM12 and CT12 a lot. My favourite knife's the Fairbairn Sykes at the moment, because I've actually got one. Yeah, I've got a Lee Enfield, but a deactivated one. Yeah, for a few $100s, it's definitely worth getting a small magazine Lee Enfield. I assume you can get 303 for it though, can you, at a reasonable price? Because that would be the only problem if the ammo's super expensive. I've never looked into it though, so I've not looked at that particular rucksack. No, if you say you want one to defend yourself, you'll never be given a license. Well, like I said, so a lot of people already have firearms with actual firearms licenses, so... Technically, foxes are a protected species, but they really shouldn't be, because obviously lots of them cause a lot of damage if you're on a farm or somewhere like that. Right, fair enough, because that's the only thing I was thinking with 303. It might be a bit better for some people to go for something like a Nagant, where I'm sure the ammo's a bit more mass-produced. But I know after World War II, lots of Enfields were sold in the States very cheaply, because it was sort of one of the Lend-Lease repayment things. We sold lots of surplus rifles to America very cheaply. Might do more videos of the Sandero later on, but I'm still very happy with it, even though I've seen lots of people moaning about them. Saying like, oh, the plastic inside looks cheap. Well, no shit, it's a cheap car. I wouldn't really recommend a PBF or EDC, because the filters are all expired by now. Get yourself checked into rehab if you have an addiction and can't stop. No, I don't have any World War I stuff. I think I've said a few times on these streams that I have no real interest in collecting sort of World War I stuff, because there's so many fakes out there, and then you need to look after the stuff properly if you get it. Like, a lot of the stuff will deteriorate and like rot or rust away if you don't look after it properly, so I have no interest in paying loads of money for something that may or may not be fake and then try and not destroy it. Yeah, but that's about all it would do. Works for tear gas. Any particle filter works against tear gas. Normally, it totally depends. If I'm just going out, like regular, you know, like dress shoes, but I don't have particularly good ones. Otherwise, sort of like walking boots or proper boots. It totally depends on what I'm doing. But if I'm outside in the woods, I obviously have boots on rather than sort of nice shoes. I did a video on that, Sebastian, so maybe watch that. Basically, the main idea is 2 filters allow you to breathe easier, and the weight's evenly distributed on the mask. But single filters just make a lot more sense. Well, I've never actually used a DuPont hazmat suit or any hazmat suit. I've used a Taichim NBC suit, and that's okay. But the problem is, because it's designed to be disposable, a lot of it is kind of like sticky tape to do up, rather than it being like Velcro or elasticated parts. Most of the World War One masks I've seen are awfully overpriced, so no, because I'm not going to spend £100 on a reproduction mask. Well, like, I got the PH hood because that was only like £30, and I know it's not a brilliant reproduction, like there's plastic on it when there never would have been plastic on the original ones, but that, you know, wasn't too bad, £30 or whatever it was. It might have even been less than that. It might have been about £20. You know, for a replica mask that's an okay replica but not a brilliant one, that isn't too bad, but, you know, for a full price one, I'm definitely not spending, you know, like £100 on a mask that's not even a good replica. Weirdly enough, Cambo, if you wait, there's a video coming out in the next week I've already filmed on some of the worst masks in my collection. I think the worst mask I've ever seen, though, is the Chinese cheek filter mask from the Cold War, which is the one where, if you've seen it as one massive cheek on one side, you can't actually replace the filters in it apparently at all, and often they had already, like, the filters expired by the time soldiers got them. With NBC suits, you have to wear the gloves under the sleeve, and then you just don't put your hands in the air. Flecton, as it gets told, you know, I get asked that every stream, it's Flecton. But sadly, modern Flecton isn't as good as the old Flecton because it's just too brown now. It's kind of just like a very dark green, dark brown camo now, modern Flecton, where the old Flecton was more like red and kind of yellowish. The thing I like about old Flecton, it has a lot more colour contrast in it, which is I think what makes it work better, but modern Flecton's kind of just like different shades of brown. Hello Vlad, we were talking about Romania just now, well a few minutes ago, because they were asking me about my Dacia Sandero. Yeah, it's the Chinese M65 rather than the German M65, but yeah, the M65. Well, probably somewhere like Maine, just because the climate would suit me. Put maybe tape over the damaged Soviet filter so it doesn't leak. As much as I prefer the south and somewhere like Texas, I could not put up with the heat. I did a video on the CT12 where I explained all that, just because it's comfortable, lightweight, all the parts are robust on it, you know, good quality. Now I get asked about MREs every stream, and I get to the stage now where I think people asking it are doing it to be obnoxious, so no, there's no videos on MREs. Yeah, well, New England isn't too different in climate to, like, regular England. So, it's obviously a bit further south geographically, but other than that, you know. I assume in the winter you can still get very cold winters, can't you, because Canada's right there. I like shortwave radios, but you can get shortwaves that also can do FM and everything as well. I've never bothered using any military goggles. I like the FM12 a lot. I prefer the CT12, but the FM12 is just the CT12 with a drinking tube. No, never seen potential history. Maine has, as far as I can tell, the same firearms laws as most states that don't have stupid laws. Of course, I'm not in America, so... You can just buy... Unless you're in somewhere where you really can't get Soviet surplus, most UK sellers have lots of Soviet stuff in. Or I can buy it from, like, Estonia or Lithuania, and it comes within a week. £30 odd I said in the video. Because I don't like drinking tubes. How many times do we have to go over this? Here's one mask with a drinking tube and one without it. I don't like drinking tubes. Okay, here's one without the drinking tube, therefore it's better. Avon CT12 has already asked that several times, lad. No, I haven't heard about this, survival shelters. No, I'm just refreshing the page a minute because it's not quite working right. Right, and I'm just going to have a sip of tea in a moment, so let's see if I don't burn myself on it. There's no laws, no, against body armour or helmets. Like, I think with a lot of things, like, you can't, you know, wear a helmet in a bank and stuff like that. That's not an actual law, but it's like their policy. They'll say, like, we won't serve you, or we might call the police if you come in, like, wearing full motorcycle gear into a bank or something. But there's nothing stopping you wearing, like, a vest and a helmet in public. But that doesn't mean people won't call the police on you. Oh, do you mean, does anybody make 40mm NATO filters? Loads of companies do, because it's still the standard NATO filter. I've got a few pencils. I've got an assault pen, though. I suppose that's kind of a good idea, actually, putting it in the fridge. I've never used any surplus tents. When I've used a tent, it's always been our really old French tent we've got, but it's not a military one. If I was just getting a tent for myself, though, I'd just buy one of those cheap little pop-up tents, which doesn't require, you know, much else. No, never been fishing. Well, I think I've been trout fishing once, but I don't normally go fishing. PG1, because it makes a better peripheral seal. Yeah, that's overpriced, because I got an M17 for, I think it was like £40 or something. So yeah, that's very overpriced. Especially because you're in the US, where there's no export ban on them. eBay. Probably a tent, because you need at least 2 trees together, don't you, to set up a hammock, unless you get one with like its own little post. No, I don't really see much South African surplus on eBay. You sometimes see some of the the magazine carriers, but that's about it. No, I've talked about the British Army NBC suits a bit, but I've always hated the British Army over boots. They're useless. Yeah, I would never order one, as I've said anyway, because there's just too many fakes, Mr. Mao, and the fact that UK customs will just steal it anyway. Yeah, I get asked about airsoft every stream as well. If you haven't seen, I've got an airsoft gun on one of my videos, but I have to have the stupid two-tone one, because I've not done enough games to get a signed piece of paper to say I'm allowed to buy guns from shops. Yeah, what Mike said, like the stream please everybody, helps me out. GP5 is the cheapest mask in the world, so GP5. If all the people keep asking the same sort of questions, just look at the videos I've done on the subjects. And again, I've been asked to get about boots again when I answered that earlier in the stream. I don't know what the Romanian World War I gas mask was. Yep, you could. I made my own. I use fishing waders as my own trousers for an NBC suit, because they're actually thicker and better quality than most of the military trousers are. I've got loads of videos on crossbows, haven't you seen them? Maybe the XM28? I don't really know, to be honest. It's about 32 degrees in the room now, so that's not great. Again, probably the XM28 is the most expensive item I own. Technically, if I was to sell them, I guess the C7 masks I have would be more expensive because they're very rare, but both of those I bought for cheap. They had one that was called something like the BNT4 in World War II. Then they had, I think the SHM1 was like right at the end of the war, or might have been a bit afterwards. But again, they all look very similar because they're Soviet masks, just like the straps are a bit different on some of them and everything else. Well, I'd love to get an M50 and a C4, but I don't have those. No, I've never played PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, don't intend to start. I've already done a video on that, Daniel. My favourite asbestos meme's the one that doesn't die, where the seller said it's safe for me to buy a GP5 filter from them because their filters don't contain asbestos. They've activated charcoal in, because I have people tell me that every day. Totally depends on the kit, because NATO stuff really varies depending on nation and like the decades. I mean, a lot of the Soviet stuff was really durable, but some Soviet stuff was a bit crap as well. But for the most part, I would say Soviet stuff was more durable. But like, if you look at like Britain post 1980s, most of the British equipment has been absolute crap. I have no interest in Fallout 76 whatsoever. Bethesda have barely even said what the game's going to be about, because Todd Howard, as usual, just dodges questions on it when he's asked about it. So that's a sure sign of quality control, isn't it? When the developers aren't even confident enough in their own game to tell you what it's actually going to be. Yeah, butterfly knives are totally illegal now. I've got a trainer, which is one without a blade in, that's legal, but other than that, yeah, butterfly knife, they're like just the, verboten list of knives for no reason. Well, Masker one's meant to be titanium, isn't it? Like all those helmets, or do you mean like the ballistic lens in it? I never played Sea of Thieves, but I heard that was another massive letdown of a game. Hello, Texas. Oh, a couple of pets, but I've got into that before another stream, so I'm not going to go into it again now. Because I'd rather ask questions that haven't been answered loads of times in all the streams. What I might have to do, I think, next time I do a stream is put an FAQ of a load of questions I'm not going to answer in the thing, and then put them there. I've not heard of the thing. Ballistic knives are banned as far as I'm aware. Again, is asked every stream, Cambo, so you're not going to get an answer to that. But yeah, I think that's what I'm just going to have to do, because so many of these streams are just me just repeating myself over FAQ questions, so it's going to be read the FAQ I'm going to put in a description. Totally depends on the knife you like, I suppose. Hello. Yeah, don't worry about it too much, but I'm definitely going to have to put it in an FAQ type thing, because at the moment it's just where every time I do a stream, everybody always seems to ask the same questions. It's like, what's your favourite mask? I get asked several times. What's your, like, most expensive mask? Have you done a video on this where people can't be bothered to search for it? And it's all stuff like that. Yeah, well, if I could have a bunker in my garden, of course I'd have a bunker in my garden. No, I don't have a knife like that. I have a couple of historical bayonets, and that's about it. I do have a Discord channel, but it's for patrons only. Yeah, I agree, Mike. I think I'm just going to have to, next time I do a stream, write one out with all the questions I most commonly get. That way I can just say, see the FAQ. Hopefully, because I do FAQ videos for some of these and people never watch them and they still ask the same questions, so I reckon it's just going to have to go in the stream thing, and then if people ignore it, they can get a timeout or a block. I'm not going to play any more games until at least next week, but they're saying next week's going to be hot again, so I might not for a while. The issue is, like I said, my room's already about 32 degrees. If I start playing games on my PC, I have to put the cooling up even more, so that makes the computer go way, way hotter. So if I have obviously my GPU going properly and everything else, then that's going to output way more heat, and the heat's not going to go anywhere. So, you know, it just turns the room into an oven. It's already bad enough with this weather. I've seen lots of really stupid comments, and that's hard to answer. I mean, I'll put this as a warning to people now, because I've had to remove a load of comments for it. So, if people repeatedly do it, they're going to get a block. It's, do not start talking about how to manufacture bombs or chemical weapons in the comments. You do that, I'm just going to immediately block people now. Because I've been getting loads of those really stupid people there who don't realise that they'll probably get jailed for typing out stuff like that. Even in places like America, as far as I'm aware, it is illegal to start saying stuff like that in the comments. So that's the advance warning. And then somebody's just gone and won their Darwin Award. I mean, if you had an Anderson shelter that was airtight, it would at least give NBC protection to a degree. Because you could put like some sort of air filter on the like air intake. I've done videos on slingshots years ago, but I do want to get a modern one, because both my slingshots are broken. One was absolute crap to begin with, and the Barnet one was quite good, but obviously over time of using the bands and like sunlight, the bands just withered away. So I'd probably get something like the Black Widow, is it? The one they've got with the wrist brace and everything else. Alright, cheers, Cambo. But yeah, the link's in the description if you're interested in Patreon. I've not actually heard of it. The thing is, I can't exactly afford to just buy random stuff to review, because I think people forget that. They think I'm one of those big channels that can just request stuff and get it for free from the manufacturers, and I really can't. Yeah, you can make slingshots from almost any kind of like stretchy rubber. How would I run a country? I'd sort all the shit out. I wouldn't have stupid legislation. What's a Novichok report? As somebody says, and the evil Russians have once again killed a heroin addict using Novichok. Putin himself was personally responsible. That's what they'd say. I like my Flecktarn coat, the Gore-Tex Flecktarn coat, but that's got a few holes in it now due to how old it is. There's a very similar British DPM coat I've got, which is quite good, but for obviously extreme wet weather you'd want an NBC suit. It's gone quiet all of a sudden. Oh, Vlad. That's a hard question, is it? Winston Churchill's the only good one I can think of off the top of my head, and a lot of people don't like him. No, I don't think I've seen Mike's Militaria. Can you get a BSA Hornet over in America? Because we can get them here and they're only £100 and they're at least 10 foot-pounds. So if you can get a BSA Hornet, I'd recommend that. If not, there's quite a few like better Crossman ones and everything else. But the BSA Hornet, or like the Camo name, equivalent name for it, is very good. Just because it's very simple and basic, but it works. It comes with iron sights by default, but you can fit a scope to it quite easily. Or you can buy a version, I think, which includes a basic scope as well as the iron sights. Well, because it rains all the time in Britain. The thing is with the British DPM raincoat is, it's actually the exact same thing as the German one I've got. I think because it's made by Gore-Tex. It's just like they print them in whatever camo pattern the military who buys them wants. Some of like the tying buckles are a bit different, but they're both, the Flecton and the DPM one, they're almost so similar I couldn't pick one on over the other. I mean, I prefer the Flecton one because I prefer the camo pattern of Flecton to DPM. But, that's only a slight thing anyway, but, both are perfectly suitable. You'd have to be outside in the rain for absolutely ages before the water would eventually get through Gore-Tex. I've already said in videos before, Sebastian, why I collect all of it, because I find it interesting. I've never seen magazine-fed air guns before. Like, I mean, obviously with airsoft, yeah, but I've never seen that even. I've only ever seen single-shot ones. Apparently, it's probably because the pellet is hard to actually get to feed properly through a magazine. Like, you get some with, like, the revolver kind of cylinder on it. So, they're semi-auto, because they can have, like, a big revolver cylinder where each time you cock it or it's PCP, you can have a revolver action. But I've never actually seen any that have managed a magazine with pellets. Yeah. I'm not going to be on much longer though, maybe 10 more minutes, because it's just getting too warm in the room without the fans on so I can stream. Alright, see ya. You're really only going to get that with old World War II and the sort of Soviet SHM41 style bags. Modern bags don't do that at all because nobody uses a filter in a bag. Springfield. No, I absolutely hate fizzy drinks. All the sugar and other crap in it, or artificial sweeteners and all that crap in it. Perfect cup of tea now, it's cooled down enough. Yeah, cool, I might watch you later on Twitch, Mike, because at least I can have the fans going when it's not me recording something, but yeah, at the moment it's just getting horribly hot in here. Alright, so cheers Daniel, see ya. Depends if they're charcoal or not. Do you mean, do I have any ones with the air pumps on? I made my own air pump, if that's what you're asking. But none of the masks themselves have a pump on them. I think they use the CT12 now. Because as far as I'm aware, the SAS refused to use the GSR. But I've not seen anything really official on that, so I can't confirm or deny. No, you can look on the sites that sell spare parts for deactivated guns and see if they have any, but I wouldn't really look for spare parts myself. AK, because it's a longer range round. People who do the acid attack should be put to death, like the disgusting one against a fucking 3-year-old kid the other day. But Britain's turning into a violent hellhole. It's getting worse and worse every year, so I'm sure you already know my opinions on all that. Yeah, when I woke up this morning, I think my room was 28 or 29 degrees this morning before I even, had anything turned on. And that was with the windows open all night, letting as much air through as possible. And it just gets worse as the day goes on, and obviously if you have the computer on, then it heats up the room even faster. I prefer Demon Souls to Dark Souls, but I've played all the Dark Souls games. I'll probably get a Ruger 1022 first if I went to America, because that'd be cheap to shoot and fun. Then I'd, I had to get a handgun as well for protection. That's a tough one, actually. Browning high power or one of the like SIG P226 type SIG P226 type things. I think with Britain this year, it's been a weird thing where like the jet stream's been all messed up, so like we've been getting much hotter weather for longer than we should have had. If I just Google Camo Hornet, I'm sure that's going to be the same name, because Camo owns BSA. Alright, let's have a look. Yep, that's the exact same gun, mate. Camo Hornet is the same thing as the BSA. Although, saying that, there's no iron sights on the Camo version. That's a shame. The BSA one has iron sights on it, but the Camo one's the exact same gun without the iron sights on it. Although I can see one Camo Hornet that does have the iron sights on that's exactly like mine, so I'm not really sure. But yeah, go for the one with the iron sights on, because you always want a gun with iron sights, and then put a scope on rather than one without iron sights, because then you can't fit scopes if there's a problem. No, I have no interest in making merchandise, because I don't really want to sell anything. Rodox, because they've got the amazing sharpshooter crossbowman. No, I'm not bothering going on holiday this summer. If I go on holiday, I'll probably go on a different part of the year, to be honest. Because I bought a car this year, I couldn't really afford a holiday. Right, cool, see you, Mike. Maybe Virgin versus Chad. I mean, that's the one I quite like at the moment. I like the Bogdanovs as well. Tough one with the mythical creatures. I like a lot of the dragons, but if you mean things like krakens or krakens and leviathans and things like that, no idea really. It depends really what scopes you're using. If you're the problem with air rifles as well is you need air rifle specific scopes, because air guns can actually spring air guns break proper rifle scopes because of the two-stage recoil. Probably an SMLE, but I've not shot a SMLE. Alright, see ya. Depends on which variant of AK. If it was the original like AKM, probably an M4, but if it was an AK-74, I'd pick that over the M4. I'd rather have an M16 and an M4, so there we go. Yeah, if you can get a cheap BMP, I suppose you can... But do you need the positive pressure system working to have NBC capabilities? Because if so, you can't really, you know, keep it stored for that. Avon CT12 out the ones I own, Jesus, but otherwise, like I said, I'd really like an Avon M50, but it's just not practical in the UK to spend all the extra money to get one. See ya. Because you can't easily move to the US, which is what a lot of people assume you just can, but unless you're earning enough money or have a job lined up in the US, you can't get all the visa stuff through to just move there. I mean, I'm sure if I was in Mexico, it'd actually be easier to illegally enter and get asylum somehow than it would be to try and move from the UK. But maybe if the UK gets worse enough, you know, moving to the US as an asylum seeker would be a valid option. M16, like I just said just now. Well, I think with a contact, you can obviously get more like dust and stuff trapped in your eyes with them, but at least with a contact you can wear a gas mask, and you know, you don't need a horrible optical insert. But I tried contact lenses and I absolutely hated them. They made me really nervous having something in my eye. What, Vlad Aleku? There you go, I said your name for you, if I've pronounced it right. Same thing, aren't they? A mercenary and a bounty hunter? I suppose a mercenary can do anything, and a bounty hunter just hunts bounties, but all the soldiers are fortune. Yeah, I've seen Doomsday, that's quite fun, because it's just like an Escape from New York, Mad Max sort of tribute film. Well, it depends. Only the AKM has more stopping power, if you want to call it that, at closer range, like what it does to cinder blocks and stuff like that, and how far it'll punch through stuff. But over range, the AK, like this 7.62 by 39mm, doesn't have a very good kind of ballistic profile. Like, the energy drops off too fast. That's why I quite like the AK-74, because it's a more similar round to the 5.56. Now, a 7.62 NATO rifle, that's another thing entirely. Original Star Wars trilogy. I like Lord of the Rings, but it's just too long to sit through and watch it more often. Yeah, but it's only a bigger round in terms of the actual head on it, like the bullet. The in terms of like pressure behind it, it's actually a bit lower as far as I'm aware on an AK, because it's an older round. Right, it's gone on for 41 minutes, so I might finish the stream fairly soon. Favourite dog breed would probably be a German Shepherd. Oh, I don't have a German Shepherd. Oh, thank you very much. Do you mean like how do you use a hose and filter with a bag? Basically, you have the... I've done videos on it, but you've got the hose attached to the filter, obviously attached to the mask, and then there's a hole in the bottom of the bag, or the bag's got like a grill on the bottom. So when you breathe, obviously the air can get through the bottom of the bag because there's a hole for it. It goes through the filter, up the hose into your mask. So you'd still wear the satchel over your shoulder or whatever else, but that was the older design, like the box respirators. It's just as technology improved, you could make filters work better, smaller and smaller. So it became a lot more ideal to have a smaller filter on the side of a mask rather than have a big heavy filter that lasts longer in a bag. I quite like ferro rods and everything like that for starting fires. I mean, lighters are practical, but the rods are less likely to go wrong, but you need a lot of dry tinder for them to catch anyway. I haven't seen the Sherlock Holmes TV series. If you mean the one with what's his name in, Benedict Cumberbatch, whatever he's called, I've never watched those. There's some quite old good Sherlock Holmes films with Peter Cushing in as Sherlock Holmes. But anyway, like I said, I'll probably finish the stream off now. What do you mean I'm the only genuine person in the UK? I think there's a lot of genuine people in the UK. I'm sure GCHQ knows about my little knife collection. I'm sure it scares them very much. You can't tell them the expiration date on Israeli filter unless they've printed it on there. They don't list them. If you've got a production date on it, then you go like 5 or 10 years from the production date. As long as it's sealed, but for the actual expiry, there's no way of knowing unless it's printed. Right, so yeah, thanks to everybody. I'll be heading off the stream now. As I said, I'd like to do a longer one at some point, but just today it's just too warm and horrible, so I thought I'd do one for a bit in the evening, so because I normally do them in the morning, where I'm more awake and everything to do them. Alright then, see everybody, and thanks for watching.